What's up everyone, and welcome back to HateWatchers. Today we're breaking down and reviewing episode 6 of Rings of Power, entitled Where Is He? Let's get right into the breakdown, which means spoilers ahead. We begin with Arondir sprinting through the forest until he stops abruptly because he has to take a dump. Mid-log, he gets ambushed by some orcs and defeats them using his mastery of CGI, before finding a battle plan for the siege of Eregion on a corpse. Meanwhile, in Eregion, Celebrimbor is awkwardly doing aggressive dirty talk to his metals in front of everyone. "I'm gonna make you so hot, baby. Then I'm gonna twist you around and pound you." Galadriel 2.0 tells him this is a hostile work environment and she can't work here anymore, and he asks what her name is, and she says, "You've forgotten my name?" And he says, "Of course I haven't, champ." Annatar blows into the room and clears it with the malevolent gas leak coming from his behind. He then manipulates Celebrimbor before telling him it's time to get to pounding, and Celebrimbor gets excited until the hammer makes it clear that they're thinking of two different things. Angry, Celebrimbor says the short-bearded fucks didn't deliver the mithril on time and dispatches Annatar to retrieve it. Outside, the elves show Annatar a dead elf that's shown up with "Diddy was here" carved into his chest. After telling the elves to bury the body and keep this a secret, Annatar lets Galadriel 2.0 know that everyone's been laid off and to leave Celebrimbor alone. Then he looks over the ramparts at the orc army camped 500 feet away that none of the guards bothered to notice. At that orc camp, Adar hosts a meat feast for the very vegan Galadriel. Before the meat sweats kick in, he shows off his replica Morgoth helmet, autographed by Morgoth himself. But Galadriel is unimpressed, so he puts her in chains. Off in Numenor, Elendil is charged with some heinous crimes because he got too comfortable having a queen that turned two blind eyes to what he was up to. King Pharazôn sentences him to death, which everyone loves, and then sets him free, which everyone hates, if he pledges fealty to Pharazôn, which everyone doesn't know how to feel about yet. Elendil refuses to bend the knee, opting to point the finger instead, which earns him a one-way ticket to meet the Sea Worm. The stranger is still having visions, and Tom Bombadil casually mentions the secret fire, and the stranger asks about this fire, and Bombadil says, "If I told you about it, it wouldn't be a secret then, would it, you dumb shit?" Elsewhere in Rune, Nori talks to the Queen of Sass about moving her people where it's safe. She heard about this nice town in Ohio just the other day, but the Queen is underwater on the mortgage for her dirt hut and can't go anywhere. Meanwhile, Poopy is asking this Indian if he can charm this snake, because she's racist, and then she and Vivek kiss. Bombadil takes the stranger to the magical staff nursery, but the stranger wants to go help his friends, to which Tommy Bomb says he must complete his training in a scene ripped right out of Empire Strikes Back.
"She is my friend.
I can't keep the vision out of my head. They're my friends. I gotta help them.
Unless I find her soon, she will die. Both of them will die.
But Han and Leia will die if I don't.
Once I know that she's safe, I could return to you."
And I'll return. I promise.
Meanwhile, deep in Khazad Dûm, the dwarves are dumping piles of gold in front of the king, who's entertaining bitches on the throne like a rap video, because the bling bling has gone to his head. Annatar is here to plead for more mithril, but the king refuses, saying they need the mithril for glitter for the hose coming in about 15 minutes. His son thinks the party his father's planning is insane, but he says, "It's okay, Diddy did it."
Did Diddy do it?
Diddy did it.
Damn it, what didn't Diddy do?
Prince Durin is at his wit's end with his father's behavior and tries to take his bling bling, but he gets pimp slapped back into the First Age. Then we learn that even in Middle-earth, Lizzo didn't have a father figure growing up. The prince gets emotional about having to potentially unseat his father, and his wife strokes his shoulder and says, "That's nice. But I don't care, we're still doing it." Then we deal with some more daddy issues as Ozempic Face tries to convince her father to just let go of his honor and bend the knee. Then the blind queen wandering the castle stumbles in thinking this is the bathroom, but the presence of others doesn't stop her from spewing a bunch of shit out of her mouth, telling Elendil to maybe not surrender and die to the sea worm, but he says the sea is always right. Yeah, tell that to the Titanic. Back in Khazad Dûm, Narvi and his homies come across a wild Lizzo blocking their path, and they know that means they're not going anywhere. She uses her Grammy Award-winning voice to summon her winged minions and show them that she's Batman. Back in Numenor, they blow the trumpets of human sacrifice as Elendil denies his last chance of salvation through submission. But the queen appears to be his champion and faced judgment in his stead. When Elendil tells the queen what she's facing, however, she tries to turn around and go home, but she stumbles right into the water. She's looking for a way out of the water when she gets dragged under and winds up in a staring contest with the sea worm. And the sea worm quickly learns to never enter a staring contest with a blind person. She's declared innocent, and Pharazôn is driven to touch the blue ball of the future, which gives him a smell-o-vision of Halbrand and his sinister gas. 4 hours later, Galadriel answers Adar's question from before that Halbrand equals Sauron, and Karen Sue crafts a plan to speak to Sauron, the manager of Middle-earth. But Adar and his large orc army want to speak to the manager now, so he blows the Horn of Doom. The orcs begin their march as the elves realize there's a massive orcish horde 50 feet away, and this gets Annatar erect. He takes that erection straight to Celebrimbor and shuts the door, intent on Dutch ovening the elven smith, even trying to prevent him from leaving, but he escapes just as Annatar is whipping up his most potent brew yet. The gas poisoning gets to Celebrimbor, however, who steps outside and hallucinates a vision of everything being fine. There, Annatar gives Celebrimbor an inspiring speech about pushing on ahead until he gets distracted by this statue's rump. He convinces him to do one last job, and Celebrimbor heads inside, and the illusion falls as we see Eregion in chaos, and Annatar smiling because this horrendous episode is almost over. Across the river, the orcs ready for war, Galadriel is back in chains, and the assault begins as the episode ends. Well, we've reached that point in the video where we have to decide if this episode was a great watch or hate watch. And surprising absolutely no one, this one is another hate watch to cast into the fire with all the other hate watches this billion-dollar show has crafted. The character and storyline sprawl is real in this one. We covered every corner of Middle-earth this series has to show us in one episode. I guess we didn't see Isildur and that whole thing, which is honestly surprising. They might as well have thrown in a scene of them just to hit every single storyline in one episode. I mean, they even threw in a pointless fight scene with Arondir in the beginning just to fit him in. But they just tried to do too much this episode for any of it to be impactful in the way some of these scenes should have been. I do have to give them credit though. I thought it was absurd that it took 5 full episodes for most of the storylines and characters last season to come together. But this season is blowing the doors off that record, as this one is making it 7 full episodes before bringing it all together. This episode in particular also made clear one big problem with the show's writing. There are far too many glaring questions that make it impossible to get immersed in the story. How can a large orc army set up camp a quarter mile from Eregion and no one in the city has any idea? Why did Adar let Halbrand go if he had any inkling that he's Sauron? How is Galadriel surprised by the size of the orc army that she's seen before and has been traveling with? Did she forget? I was told 2 episodes that elven memory never dims. And I have no idea what's going on in Numenor. The masses have flip-flopped their support like 4 times between Pharazôn and Stevie Blunder, and I have no idea who's in charge at this point. The show is also making an annoying habit of tossing in quotes from the books and movies as nostalgia bait. Off the top of my head, this one threw in a gratuitous "precious" mention, and Gandalf's quote about life and death.
Many that die deserve life, some that live deserve death. Who are you to give it to them?
But always in totally different contexts than the original quotes, so they fall flat every time. And now Gandalf's epic quote is actually just him parroting something Tommy Baum told him once outside a dead tree nursery. And on that note, they're really removing all doubt that the stranger is Gandalf when they throw in these quotes and have him discussing the flame imperishable, called the Secret Flame here, which sounds like a dirty underground sex club. At this point, him not being Gandalf would make even less sense than if he is. The manipulation of Celebrimbor and the making of the rings is probably the best thing the show has going for it at this point. But even that would have been better if Celebrimbor's madness had come on slower. The same for King Durin. Both of these dudes fell completely in the span of an episode. I don't know, it's all just pretty dumb, and I can't get into a story if I feel like the person telling it is a moron. But enough from me, what about you? What did you think about this one? Where would you rank it versus the rest of the season? Do you think the action next week will make for better viewing? Let us know in the comments below. And remember to like the video and subscribe to HateWatchers to stay up to date on the Rings of Power. Thank you for putting the Lord of Eregion in a Dutch oven with us today, and we'll catch you on the next one.